MMAnytt and Studio MMA here with the legend Frank Trigg. I had the pleasure of being down with Frank down in Israel for his last fight against Roy Neiman, where you were nice enough to break the guy's jaw in 2 places. How'd you feel?
I felt pretty good about that. I mean, I don't hit really that hard, so he had a weak jaw. No, it was good. It was good. It was first time in Israel. It was a good event. It was nice to be back, kind of a more comfortable weight. You know, I'm back at 185 pounds, opposed to 170, and that fight was 180 pounds, so it's kind of that middle zone, trying to get my body put together to be able to compete at that weight. And so it was good. It was good, and especially to battle a guy in his home territory with the home crowd, trying to make that happen. So it was pretty cool. It was nice.
It was a pretty amazing event with about 20,000 people. First big MMA event in Israel. Some of the top names in the game. And yeah, Frank said he doesn't hit hard. We just got done sparring here, actually. Frank hits hard. I don't care what he says. And for you to think that Frank's career is over, it's actually not. You got a fight coming up pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we worked on it for a couple months. We finally got this this thing signed over in London. The stuff that goes on behind the camera that you don't know what goes on, it's the funniest part of the whole deal. I just had some guy walk down the hallway, expose his chest to me, and start pinching his nipples as I'm on camera. That's what he just did to me. And try to keep a straight face while this whole thing's going off is pretty amazing. Fighting May 21st in London for Bamma, which is British Association of Mixed Martial Arts. They've been around for 6 shows or 7 shows now. Pretty good. It's where Paul Daly. That's where Paul Daly got his start. So it's actually a pretty neat experience to have England, want to have me come over and compete. It took, like I said, a while to finally get the thing signed, but it got together, and then we're fighting. What's up, Neil? My grappling coach, Neil. Yeah, he's a complete tool. Don't worry about him.
He is the one, by the way, behind the camera right here, rubbing his nipples. It's just so you're getting exposed right now, mate. You find a guy who's he's got decent punching power for sure, right?
God, yeah, he's 13-3. John Phillips, he's 13-3. I think he's had 12 TKOs out of 13 wins, and he's lost he got knocked out 1 time, he got submitted once, and lost the decision once. So that's his 3 losses. So he's lost every way he can possibly lose, and then he's pretty much knocked everybody out that he beat. So it's a question of how is this really going to go on. I think his one loss to a decision is to the champ of Bamma, which was to Tom Kong Watson, and it was a back and forth battle for 5 rounds, and he was still in the game the entire time. Thomas couldn't finish him, and then John Phillips just almost caught him at the end with a big haymaker left, and it didn't put him down, but it went to the cards, and the judges went in Tom's favor. But this is a pretty tough bout for me because the last 2 times I fought in the UFC against Koshik and Sarah, I got knocked out both times. So it was like a question of, was it because I had injuries that got knocked out and I just wasn't? Was it because I didn't have the right training camp? Even though I was at Extreme Couture's, I wasn't using the right guys at Extreme Couture's to prepare for my fight. Is it really that I'm too old? Is it really that it's the wrong weight class? What was the reasons for that kind of stuff? So I said, well, you know what? I fought a grappler in Roy Neiman. I beat him up with my hands. So now I'm going to fight a guy that has great hands. There's no way I can beat him with my hands. It's not possible. I don't have the skill to beat him with my hands. So I have to use my wrestling and my grappling skill to beat him up. So let's find out if I can still do it. If we get knocked out, we're going to have a different conversation coming home, that's for sure. It's going to be a whole different kind of concept. But we definitely know we're trying to make a run back at the UFC. Everyone wants to be in the big leagues. I want to be back in the big leagues, or Strikeforce. Obviously now thrown underneath one umbrella. I'd love to be at the 185-pound division, either weight class. And no, I'm not saying, hey, I'll be the guy to beat Anderson Silva. I'm be the guy to go in and challenge for the title. And Strikeforce is not going to. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I would like to be back in the big leagues, and hopefully I can get a couple wins on my belt, and then get the UFC to bring me back in, or Strikeforce to bring me in.
Well, this is definitely a good test for you, and that's pretty impressive. You're not 22 years old anymore, and we're not going to expose how old it is, but that's it's impressive. You're going in there and you're taking on a tough opponent. So you're serious. You want to get back into the UFC again. That's a goal. Yeah, that was the whole game plan. It was really is because ultimately I want to be a commentator when I retire from the sport. Who doesn't want to be a commentator in some aspect or some fashion? So you're trying to take my job away from me? Is that what you're saying? Not your job. I want to, but I definitely like to work underneath the Zufo umbrella. That's the goal, and the amazement is to be in there. The goal is amazement from when I retire and when I go out, like Randy Couture is going out on his own merits when he wants to choose to go out. When I choose to go out, I want to be able to do it where I can go. It's time for me to go out, but I'm here with the big leagues. I'm here with the big guys. I'm here with all the best guys, and I'm honestly challenging myself every time that I fight. And there's no more easy fights anymore over there. There's no this guy's not ranked in the top 10. I don't care, man. Everybody over there is 2 or 3 fights away from being in the title hunt in any weight class, whoever you are at those weight classes. So it's like every guy you fight, he's 2 or 3 fights away from the title hunt. That's a dangerous guy. So I want to
if you're going to compete, then compete with the best. Compete against the best. Find out where you're going to be at, and find out where my range is at. And I am the old guy now. I'm turning 39 in a couple of weeks, so it's like I am the old guy. And that's the way. Just the reality of it is. But in the last 8 months, I've actually gotten better than I have in the last 10 years because of just going instead of following Randy around the country. I started stepping in his footsteps and going, okay, well, let me stop and think about my training camp before I put the training camp together. Let me pick the guys that I want to have in my training camp and spar with. Let me just grab some guy. Oh, you're the next guy next to me, so let me grab you. No, let me grab the guys that mimic the style. Let me ask these guys, please show up for practice on time. Let me pay certain guys to come in and be there for me when I need them to be there every Tuesday, every Thursday, so I can kick them in the head and punch them in the head. And it makes a big difference in training camp. You get a little bit sore, you're a little bit more tired when you go home, but you have a lot more satisfaction because you know that you put in a good day's worth of work, and every day is a good day's worth of work and makes it much better when it's time for the actual fight to happen.
And I realized that in Israel you got Tim Bring the Pain Lane, who as your striking coach, and yeah. I noticed it. I saw the difference, and I'm pretty sure Roy Neiman felt the difference. Your striking, I have to say, is better than ever.
Well, Tim is a true left-hander. He's not a right-handed coach trying to teach a left-hander how to box. He's a real, true left-handed Muay Thai guy, and I'm a true left-handed guy. There's very few of us in the world. So for Tim and I to even to meet is a probability of 1 in 50 for us to even to meet each other. But then for us to be able to train each other is like a probability of 1 in 1,000. I mean, it's amazing the probability of us being able to train together. And so now we're going, like, look, you're a lefty coach, former competitor. I'm a lefty competitor. Teach me how to be a left-handed guy. The whole game is opened up. It's a totally different ball game. I'm not learning from a right-handed guy. What you have to do is a straight. By the way, everyone says against a lefty you have to throw the straight right. That's the biggest thing. Is you throw these straight lefts against a righty. A lefty or righty will throw against a lefty a straight right. That's the game. That's not the game. That's why Pacquiao's so good, because he doesn't play that game. Everybody thinks that's what you have to do. It's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. That's not the biggest thing. Tim figured it out. Obviously, Freddie Roach figured it out with Pacquiao. There's a secret that people aren't paying attention to. It's not really a secret because you see him do it every time he fights, but there's something in there that you're not paying attention to that lefties actually do against righties. It changed my philosophy, it changed my mindset. Now when I get to actually add my kicks in and my knees in, on top of that, it actually does make my hands better. And now I've learned how to not to make every punch a freaking power punch and go out there and try to kill a guy with every punch. 4 or 5 of my punches, you only get hit hard with 2 of them. The other 3 are punches to set up the other 2. That in the pattern it's going to knock you out, so it takes a lot less energy to do what I'm doing, and so it makes my punching better because I'm not like, oh, and you got exhausted. I was saying, it's like, oh wow, I just threw 15 punches, but only 2 of them really mattered, so who cares? You kind of move on. So it's good. Tim's really opened up my eyes to how to be a real striker.
I've had the luxury to work with Tim as well. He's a great coach and obviously a great competitor when he was competing. So he's getting old too, though. But you're talking about being a commentator after done. Fighting is not the only thing you're doing right now. You have a couple of side ventures as well. What else do you do?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple other websites and a couple of things that are about to break. I can't really announce them yet, but I got a couple of things in the next 2 or 3 months that are going to snap out. They're going to be, they're not going to be game changers or anything like that, but they're definitely going to be differently within the MMA world that people haven't done before that I'm going to kind of bring to the table. One of the things I am doing pretty heavily is I work for HDNet, which is the guy that owns the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, owns a television station called HDNet, and pretty much every fight that's not the UFC or Strikeforce is seen on HDNet. That's pretty much where all the other fights go. And I had the privilege of being able to commentate all of them with Michael the Voice Chavello, the Australian character, and we get down and dirty every time. It's a different kind of commentating team because they brought me in to be the in-your-face, no-holds-barred kind of commentator where I'm like, I've called out, like Bobby Lashley, I called him out, said, great athlete, amazing guy, came out the same time that Brock Lesnar did, had the amateur background in wrestling, had the professional background in wrestling, and then went on and became a professional MMA fighter. Lesnar became the heavyweight champ, and Lashley's kind of faltered around. We thought he had a shot to be like one of the best guys, and he just cardiovascular-wise, he's just not ready to go. And I made a big deal about it because he's got all the talent in the world, all the skill in the world, great guy, but just doesn't have a cardiovascular and can't finish guys, and so as a result, he's not ready for the big time. And I call like guys, my friends, like Phil Baroni. He's one of my closest friends, and whenever he's on one of the cards I'm calling, I call him out. Like, it's just like, you just didn't do what you need to do to get ready for this fight, or you did. I'm not scared to give him praise as well, but that's kind of why they hired me. And the Voice is, if you haven't heard of the Voice call a fight, and you're missing something special. He's got more one-liners than you can ever imagine. He finally pulled one the other day that had me just live on the air. I'm just laughing. I can't stop. Like, I've broken down the broadcast because he's getting this guy's getting hit more often than a Facebook picture. I'm like, it just threw me off. Like, I didn't know what to do at that point. I just started laughing. I just had to stop. Like, I had to shut my mic off and walk away from the table. So he's really good. It's really fun to be able to work with him. So I'm pretty blessed too, because Andrew Simon, and Guy Metzger over at HDNet said, let's give Trigg a chance when I got released from the UFC after the Sarah fight, and so let's see what he can do. And they've kept me around for over a year now, and hopefully they'll keep me around for a little bit longer.
Yeah, for you that don't know, Frank Trigg doesn't normally pull in punches. When he has something to say, he has something to say. Well, there you have it. Frank Trigg is legitimately back and wants to go for a run in the UFC again. Fighting on, what date was in May?
We're fighting May 21st in Bamma, British Association of Mixed Martial Arts, at Wembley Stadium in London, England.
Wembley Stadium. You know it doesn't get any bigger than that, right? Wembley Stadium.
I didn't know until you told me. No, I had no idea. Thanks. I'm not nervous at all already going over there. Now you're going to make it worse for me? Thanks. Appreciate it.
So, are you coming in wearing a Manchester United shirt, I hope?
You know what? I hadn't thought about that. Actually, I hadn't thought about that at all. I thought about coming in wearing a Canadian flag is what I thought I was going to do. No, I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm not a planner like that. Like, I don't know. Manchester United? Maybe. Maybe. I like them. I mean, they're all right.
If you really want to hear the crowd go nuts, put on a French flag or a German flag. That would go down well.
I thought about wearing a French flag because, even the French don't like the French. I mean, it's one of those things. It's kind of weird. Got good food and good wine, but not much else. I'm teasing. They don't pick on me.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got some French fans out there as well. May 21st in London, Wembley Arena, Bamma, Frank Trigg. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.